Hey guys, Boris here, bringing you another VOD review. By the time this video goes live, the set 17 should already be live on some of the eastern regions, and therefore I wish you all a very pleasant set launch. Therefore, for one last time with PBE, let's jump in game here with Jazlatte playing in a pre-made lobby with high challenger and professional players. We have the previous Worlds winner before Darth Without You there. And you might recognize me first, the Raitor Bear as well, Little Bear, who's an APAC pro. So therefore definitely going to be an exciting game and get us a good read on how to approach the patch. Now, there was an A patch, but generally the meta did not get shaken up. Some of the top end got a little bit cut, something like mech might not be as stable, but the rest of the things should quite nicely balance out. Some of the big outliers, such as the Nova emblem, for example, got hit as well. Now, we are starting out here with some potential to be playing around Shepherds. That's an interesting op we could be considering. But we also held on to that Ezreal's obviously playing around Timebreaker. If you're in a loose streak spot, something with a patient study here is absolutely prime if we wanted to do so. The Mace's Will Augment here is something if you already have slammed the crit item, and it's only a single component on stage 2. Therefore, unless you have another complete item you can make with this, this is not going to be the value of the tempo on stage 2-1. Now, we have that Lowy there, and one way to play Heroic Grab Bag from 2-1 is to tempo around it. We could potentially go for a WoW Slam or something if we wanted to, just to further ensure then go from that, go on a win streak and make our goal that way. This is definitely going to be an appealing option. Otherwise, we could be considering playing around Patient Study. We'll have to do a scout around the lobby and see if we're able to go on that win streak, I would assume. So you're going to be scouting, and we see there's quite a few players playing around some like Time Breakers again, some Primordials, so lots of leading into these econ lines. Solo play here is insane if you are committing to that mech line. Mech, you in being whose biz is kind of hard locked in, you definitely want a Stoneblade and Titans or a Sterex. And the third item can be a little bit flex, but ideally you're going for the hard biz right there. But it would lock us into that line right away. Could be potentially considering, but we're going to be going for that Templar play instead, since we saw so much of weak units. So we have something to pair with here. We can go for that Shepherd 3 there, which is going to provide us with a little bit of an AP boost. Now we are a little bit worried of the potential damage, but Lawish packs a little bit of a punch. When we see that we do not need to make our WoW Slam here, as we are queuing into an anima player. Warlord's Honor, as just quickly mentioned last augment, is something if you're going for a card cut reroll, some way to spec those boards. Going to be slotting in the Lissandro here as we pick up that Mordekaiser, giving us a potential execute there, and Mordekaiser. Now we are downgrading our frontline unit a little bit, but this is going to be quite strong. Queuing to another weak player here. So this Alawito is going to be sufficient without a slam. We are holding on to if we potentially make a better slam here and keep that tier, as we are currently playing around that AP opener. We won't be using that tier for some form of potential damage item later on down the line. And yeah, not fielding Leona 2 obviously is a little bit downgraded as I mentioned, but we are not in that necessity right now. We are looking primarily for damage, and we have sufficient amount of frontline. Leona does not really do that much damage. Queen another loose streaking players, so we are definitely in a very prime spot. This is something you can definitely do in your games. There's going to be a lot of players playing around these econ engines, Primordials, Time Breakers, and perhaps some kind of an arbiter that can generate gold. So they're going to be a little bit on the weaker side, and that way you are able to just capitalize on the tempo and secure nice placements. Now, for this selection here, Kale seems the best option right now, because Kale gives you these extra components. You're able to accelerate your item slams, and we could be slamming something like a Sunfire here, which is a great early game slam, and that gives us even more damage. Otherwise, Rod seems appealing, but we are not. This 3 cost, a little bit of gold influx, and this 3 cost could be appealing, but it's gamble. This provides us items, and items are generally the best tempo you can be making. Also, glove, we can definitely find some use for that. Picking up a Mordekaiser pair from our unit selection, potential to high roll that as well, and even further solidify our front line. So I would assume we're going to be going with the Sunfire Slam. Might still do the smart play of holding on to just make sure is the slam necessary for ourselves, and going to be leveling and slotting in the pike to just provide a little bit even more shield, even more effective HP that way. So you're going to Shojin, and the Sunfire Slam nicely completes our items. That's also why we were making that informed decision of slamming the Spear of Show. That's holding onto the tier and not slamming the Protector's Vow right there. Close fight against this primordial player. but we're able to come out on top, which is huge for us. This is definitely what we want. Able to pick up the Veigar tier, so going to be transitioning items on him, even though without Meeple, this guy is still going to obviously be better than an upgraded Lissandra. Lissandra itself, just being a unit who's playing a little bit too much tax for her, being a 3-trait unit as a 1 cost. Queue into another loose streaking player, so we're securing our 5 streak here, and definitely now we have pretty much made our gold back from having that double dupe investment. Obviously, with this kind of play, you're not looking exactly for a reroll line. You are more looking to tempo into either a level 8 or ideally a level 9 comp is definitely what you'll be looking out for right now. And I would also imagine that this glove is probably going to be either become a steadfast or something like a JG if we wanted to go for that. Getting from other drops, Last Whisper or a Kraken, I'm not too hot on those slams. Playing into an A Last Whisper slam would essentially force us to play into Corki, and that's not the line that exactly caps too high. Obviously, it's something you want to be playing from tempo, but it's more to secure a top 4 placement, and I would assume that generally these top players are going to be looking out for a potential to play for a very high capped line, especially from this HP lead that now we're going on a 6 streak with the aggressive level 6. Was not necessary, but he saw that there is a player in our pool that can potentially contest us, so we want to be extending that streak right there. And for our next augment selection, going to be a silver augment, not that much power budget joining in. Electro charge here could be quite nice at this point actually. The time when you can be taking these combat augments if you're in a spot like this, and the electro charge, since we have a heavy front line, could be providing us a little bit more damage. We do not need more dupes right now, we're not playing in the reroll line. Find your center is good for something like a mech, I believe, but it creates potential wrap lines, not that great. Late game specialist, I believe, essentially level 9 gain gold, is actually insane for our spot. This definitely allows us to make to level 9 a little bit earlier, as making your way to level 9 with only like, but already you want at least like 50 gold, and that's going to be really enough sometimes, as buying these 5-cost units is extremely expensive, right? And this definitely allows us to get there. Twin Guardians is even better for the mech line, but you know, Aurelion got hit there a little bit, so I'll have to see how valuable that performs. Makeshift armor. We have quite a few itemized units, but late game specialist here is just going to be insane. This allows us to pretty much, I believe, at this point commit to Vex, and we're going to be slamming that QSSS for that right there. A lot of players think that Rageblade is the best Vex item, but if you have if you're slotting something like a 2 Nova, QSSS is actually insane for Vex, as you're going to be having that crit right there, and at the higher cap you can later on perhaps transition it to just transition the item to Shen. Shen also loves QSSS and is going to be fine, but if you are going from that Nova angle, now obviously we don't have these units yet, then QSSS is actually even better. And I believe that same goes for Kindred. Kindred loves Rageblade, but there you're definitely having the Nova in, so QSSS is even having that little bit crit there is quite valuable. Vex otherwise simply loves the attack speed, so until you get to that Rageblade, QSSS is a fine slam, and we want to be slamming our items there for the tempo. Unfortunately, our streak is broken here, and for our next selection, isn't this exactly the same Varus offering again? But I believe picking up another tier and the sword could be quite fine, lining us with our Kale. Going to be going for that gold, alright, so that's the interesting choice. I would believe that we're going to be locking ourselves with a Kale, since if we're playing for that fax, aligning ourselves with a Kale, since we are playing for that high cap board, we were going to wanting a lot of items in order to be able to fully itemize our higher tier units. Like obviously hitting them at 2-star is one thing, but the real power comes from them getting those items. And the Radiant item can definitely be quite worthwhile if we are able to hide all that on a Vex, for example. I'm going to level here, and I assume that he's going to be mapping out the board in some form fashion. But yeah, we can see he's slotting in that Akali and Aatrox as ways to essentially secure your Shred and Sunder and heading that crit. So very well spotted right there. And thankfully we're able to pick up win, but going to be transitioning our items to LeBlanc. LeBlanc is one of the more natural ways how you can transition your level 8 board onto the Vex line, so you can essentially use the same similar items. Now LeBlanc is one of those units that definitely wants the Rage Blade, but here right now she's going to be sufficient with attack speed, is going to be better than the Veigar, since Veigar just at this point is a little bit too slow with his single target nukes. And our board obviously fits that quite nicely right now. And we have coming out on 91 HP, very well played early game tempo from that heroic grab bag spot. Read that we can make the play by adjusting to seeing what how the lobby is looking, and we are now in a prime spot to be doing so. Now, and we also have this open bow, which can become other form of an attack speed item. Now, if we are going to be we have that Aatrox we are holding on to, so we could potentially omit committing to a Void Staff right now, if you're going to be playing around that, and then make something like an Adaptive Helm, which can work as a frontline item, so that we can have a 3 itemized frontliner, or afterwards can just slot into any form of a unit. Going to be sacking, I want to see how deep he's going to opt to roll in level 8, if at all, and perhaps when we go for level 9. Now, Force be with you here, the Jin's augment. Jin has lost quite a lot of its power since the very early days of PvE, and I'm not exactly sure what's the best border there. The Divine Artifacts have been initially read to be quite strong, so this is not something that we could allow us to pick up a frontline. The frontline artifact, I believe, is still quite decent. Exiles is going to be tough to position since we are going to be planning to play around Shen. We do not want to really be playing around it, so going to be rolling probably 1 and 3 right now. Now, Jeweled Lotus is an option that we can consider. This is an augment that's going to be scaling the more units you have and more itemized units you have, and this would enable us to be slamming that Void Staff and omitting playing around these lower cost Nova units in order just to be playing for something else. Gilded Steel is another nice one. Gives us a 5 cost that could potentially help stabilize our board right now and provide a durability that they're going to love a lot. And Electro Charge, I believe we already talked about, is generally good in these frontline units. But going to be going a Gilded Steel right there, picking up a Sona. Cannot identify just by the looks right now which the mod it is right now, but going to be slotting on our carry, so we're assuming that it's generate gold or XP or whatever. Going to be fine, as we're going to not opt to roll at all, and I hopefully we're going to be able to find a Takali. So we are hovering this Adaptive Helm Slams now. We're going to be going with that, so that pretty much locks us in that we're going to be playing around these Nova units as, and again, hopefully we hit a Takali, right? Have mapped out them all, and obviously a high roll we could have gotten from McGill still would have been the Graves, and currently the attack module got hit, but that was considered again the melee module to be the best one, and that unit also loves QSS. So QSS actually has gotten quite a bit of stonks currently in the meta. We'll just have to see how the set evolves, obviously. And another thing to note, as I'm recording this, I just recently saw that the encounters are confirmed to be coming back either in the 2nd or 3rd patch of the set. I really hope we don't get an Emblem encounter with these mini Elder Forgers, but encounters are going to be back, and that's another exciting thing that's going to hopefully spice up the set a little bit more. But back in our game for our last god selection, I believe we want to be aligning with Kayle. Varus with HP is obviously nice, and it's obviously nice going to help us survivability with, as these fast night comps generally struggle with the front lines. There's a little few frontline units right now in the current game, and if you're playing for Fast 9, you just might be making your way to level 9 and see that there's not many frontlines. Thankfully, these frontliners left in your pool, but thankfully these comps can adjust to some degree with which frontliner you ought to be playing around. But we have mapped out Nunu, so we have to hope. I haven't paid that much attention. We have to hope they haven't been pulled out. And Crown Guard is also one of the best tank items actually now. Going from a meme last set, while the rest got hit, this stayed, and now is considered quite strong, so I believe that's a good slam that we could be opting to go for, and going to get that Radiant item for ourselves. Still, at this point, since the stage 4 PvE round no longer gives you that XP, we're going to go with the Rage Blade. Okay, so since we have so many users, I believe, yeah, that's completely fine. Rage Blade is also good on something like a Shen. And I believe we're going to pick up this new, but since stage 4 PvE round no longer gives you XP, going fast 9 on level, on 5-1 is your natural interval. So when you are in these spots to be sacking, you no longer have to be sacking for 5-2. You are able to just push the levels right there. Now we have also picked up a Graves, obviously there, and with the attack module coming on, we're able to utilize these items that we have right now quite well, just going full survivability on him pretty much at this point. And as we're going to be able getting him scaling, obviously going to cost us some in gold investment, so we want to be a little cautious of that, but this unit can become a monster once we 2-star him. Looking to probably complete either another Vex item or a Graves item. We do get Radiant Cubus SS, so that's going to be extremely strong for ourselves. And now we could probably go for a Deathcap Protector's Vow. Protector's Vow, obviously something that Nunu absolutely loves, is any always. It is with these CC tanks. They just want to be casting as fast as possible. Able to finally find that one Akali, but we are fully paired on our 5 cost, so we have to give up on something, and we opt to dig, and able to find that Blitz 2 now with the Graves 2 as well, and finally find a single Vex. Now this is the somewhat of a concern in the current meta of the players, is that when you go to Fast 9, it's kind of a Vex or bust, some people are saying, since the Bard 2 does not seem to stabilize that well, and the Morgana 2 is obviously not there, and same goes for the Shen. So you kind of have to be either, well, now obviously we hit that Graves 2, which is going to be quite powerful since we managed to pick up some units. Now we're way more comfortable investing into him, but this Vex unit can, on 1-star, is going to be on similar power level as them on 2-star, so we're thankful that we're able to pick that up, but we're still quite low on gold here. Going to be transitioning our tank items to the Nunu here, as Blitz also is one of those 5 costs that got hit by an initial wave of nerfs on PvE, and is kind of is where it is. So currently, obviously you're playing them all together as you're able, if you're able to get to these items, but your item priority should be Vex, Graves, and then well, either Graves or Fiora, depending on how your items work out and who you are able to 2-star first. Now we're in a very comfortable position to at least secure a top 4, and if we're able to hopefully cap our board a little bit higher, we just need to find that gold sitting on these pairs here. If we find that Vex 2, we're definitely extremely stable right there, and for our last item probably we'll be looking for something to complete the third new item here. Getting that front line is quite crucial, as obviously Vex is a ramping champion, and it seems that the rest of the lobby is not exactly capping that much higher. Interesting choice to go with the Deathblade there. I was definitely going to go with another Protector's Vow just to get a fast cast even faster out, but going to value, obviously I would assume this goes on to... Alright, so we can just transition to Adaptive Helm, which is fine. Do not get that slammed right down on time, so I'm not going to get that bonus as a start of combat bonus. But yeah, nicely spotted how we can just simply move out the items there. This is going to provide us a little bit higher cap for this Graves, getting some damage in him, as in the build that we had before, he was locking that AD component, and Deadblade secures that 4. So very well recognized by YBY1 here, how to make his items work better. Sorry, YBY1, Jazlatte right there. Getting my players mixed up. But there we go. Have that Vex 2, and now we are in a Shen 2, and now we are in pretty much mostly a cap state, obviously going to want to complete some of the other pairs, but into a real comp that seems to be just still stuck on level 7, and now that we have the front line, we are getting extremely close. Win by a single HP still. This just shows the strength of the Victor there, that still the Victor unit is quite a bit over budget. The drone got hit, but I believe this still should be a very stable reroll comp if you're able to get there with those 3 stars. The 3 costs are definitely something to look out for constantly throughout the meta. Something like a Kaisa Fizz can still perform quite well as long as you're able to get the items for all those units you need. Going to be picking up another attack speed item for this Vex in form of that Giant Slayer. She loves the item in its form, and we can just transition the Shojin now to whatever we have upgraded, which is going to be the Blitzcrank right now. A neat thing to note about Blitzcrank's positioning is that you can always position him and try to position him in front of the opposite from main tank. Are we going to secure a double kill here? Not exactly, but since he knocks back main tanks, if you have more frontline units than, well, we have two right now, really, you are able to displace their backline, especially strong against something like the mech board. It's going to opt to FF. So since this was a 44 lobby, we got that FF in the end, but otherwise a very well played game by Jazlatte right here, identifying that possibility to play for early tempo and then neatly working around his itemization, keeping up with the tempo to preserve the necessary amount of lives in order to make it to this very high capped level 9 board, and this is going to be the board you're going to be seeing winning a lot of games. So if you can see that the lobbies are going to be weak and you're able to play for tempo and then sack later on, and ideally and perhaps even attacking some other form of econ regeneration right there, this is how you're going to be winning games once the set goes live. I would like to thank you for watching, and I wish that you all are going to having a very pleasant set launch. Best of luck in your climbs. Have a good one.